the Walz attacks the JD has engaged in starting yesterday. He's attacked Tim Walz over stolen valor. He said that he, quote, abandoned his unit before he went to Iraq. You wrote about this in your Substack and said the swift boating of Walz is sick, inaccurate, and will fail. Talk about that.
I have tried to not become angry during this cycle because, I mean that. Like, I want to be a professional, like, angry, not really angry. I am furious about this attack. Now, let me take it from the broad perspective and cut me off if I'm spinning too long because I'm going to rant about this.
Roll, baby, roll.
So on the 50,000-foot overview, if you ever served in the United States military, why in God's name would you run for office? Because what you have done is, yes, you have done what 99% of the country won't do. But now it has become acceptable to parse through military records, look for any time you said something in a public comment that might have been a little bit inaccurate, or take a completely normal thing that happens in a military career, explain it as something differently to people that don't understand how, for instance, military retirement works, and make it look like you abandoned your unit. Now, let me go into the details of this. So Walz retires at 24 years in the military. Let me be clear about one thing. He could have retired at 20 with a pension. He stayed for 24. That was 4 years after 9/11 and 2 years after the start of the Iraq War. So I retired from the Guard as well. I retired at 20 years. He stayed 4 more years. Eventually, he makes the decision to retire. Now, it just so happens that a month later, his unit gets called to say, you're going to deploy. But he had made the decision to retire prior to that. The other thing I'll say is this. When they said that he is claiming to have worn a rank that he didn't wear is complete bullshit, okay? So how military retirement works is in 20 years, after 20 years, you're eligible to retire. You retire at the rank you last held for 3 years, okay? So when I became a lieutenant colonel, the year I finished my 3rd year as a lieutenant colonel, I was then eligible when I retired to retain the rank of lieutenant colonel.
Got it.
Had I gotten out at 2 years, I would have reverted to major. That happens in about 20% of retirements. That's what Walz did. He reverted to senior master sergeant.
So wait, which rank did he reach? What was his highest rank?
Chief master sergeant, which is like the highest rank in the Army, the highest enlisted rank in the Army. And then since he didn't finish his education requirements for that, which happens all the time, and since he wasn't in that rank for 3 years, he reverted to senior master sergeant. That's not like a disciplinary, demotion like Captain Ronnie Jackson got, and he still has admiral on his Twitter bio. He says he's a rear admiral. He was demoted for disciplinary reasons to captain. So I could go on, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but what makes me furious is not even so much the attack on Walz, as unfair as that is. And I'd be this furious if people were attacking JD Vance, by the way. It's the fact that if you served in the military now and you think about running for office, you're like, God, did I ever say anything that somebody happened to get that maybe wasn't entirely 100% true? And if so, I'm never running for office, and it's bullshit. When the people that are throwing these arrows, one of them avoided the draft by claiming he had bone spurs. The rest of them, our friend Eric Erickson in Georgia down there sitting jiggling in front of his microphone with his anger, who's never served a day in his life in the military, talking about Walz's service like he has any effing clue. It is a completely unfair attack. If he had known they were deploying and then made the decision to retire, there is still nothing cowardice or unethical about that. Once you pass 20 years of service, you have every right to retire at the moment you decide to retire. And if it happens to be a bad moment and the military is like, sorry, you will leave this unit unmanned if you retire, they do what's called a stop loss, which thousands of people got, which says you cannot retire until this mission is complete. Yeah. So it is an unhinged and wrong and sick attack against a man that did 24 years of service.